Today I have a message for you. As a matter of fact, I think I'll call this video the message. Should I call it that? This new moon in Gemini that happens here on May 26th, 8:02 p.m. Pacific. I'm on the West Coast. The message, it's always about the message with Gemini, isn't it? And Mercury that rules the sign, which is the center point of this new moon in Gemini. And for you Geminis out there and you Gemini risings, I think we've had quite a year. From this time last year, a year ago, when the planet Jupiter entered Gemini for a year, it's ending its transit now within a few weeks here in June. Jupiter will then enter the sign of Cancer. We have done 1 year of Jupiter in Gemini. You also had a Saturn and Pisces stories that were thrown in on this, on your world, my mercurial friends, and we're almost at the end of this. This message, this new moon is the future. And I'll tell you why here. By the way, you're new here, hit the subscribe button. That's another message. The new moon happens at 5 degrees Gemini. Sun and moon are conjunct in the sky, and when we look at lunations, we look at the planetary ruler of the lunation. So if the moon is in Gemini, we go look to the ruler, and the ruler is Mercury. And Mercury, this point when the new moon happens, is in Gemini, freshly entered in Gemini at 2 degrees, moving really fast. As a matter of fact, when I'm filming this here, it's Saturday night, a couple days before. While I'm doing this, is a Mercury-Uranus conjunction that's still happening in Taurus. We're several hours away from Saturn leaving Pisces at 29 degrees and going into Aries, and it's tomorrow. On the 25th that Mercury will enter in Gemini. So by the time we get to Monday in the new moon, Mercury's already at 2 degrees, speeding along. Remember when it was retrograde? Remember in the springtime when we did the whole retrograde, started in Aries and went into Pisces, and now it's just steamrolling. It took 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks of being in Taurus. Now it's at home, at the fountain of messages, basically, and it's ruling this new moon. And new moons, as we know on a basic level, we're dealing with the beginning of a cycle, the ending and the beginning of a cycle. And so this particular one, with the rest of the planets and the aspects that are being made, is a pretty good lunation for the year in general, considering a lot of the intensity we've had with lunations already in the first 5.5 months of this year, and some of the things we're going to happen later on. This one's pretty good. I like it, and it's, I think, especially great for Geminis in general. Saying that, because of the other planets involved, and they're the heavy hitters of our world, and they have to do with Saturn and Neptune and Pluto. And here is what I mean by the future. Is many of us astrologers have been talking about this new era we're going to get into. We get hints of it this summer, as winter in the southern hemisphere. And when we really finish this year, we get into next year, we have Saturn and Neptune in a fire sign of Aries. We will have Uranus in Gemini, an air sign. We will have Pluto in Aquarius, an air sign, and they will dominate the underlying story in our world. Everything that we do on the back end, it's an air-fire connection that's happening. And this particular new moon on Monday is the hint, the future of what could be or what might be coming our way. Now, a good way to look at this is in the Gemini part of your chart, because it's a new seed being planted there, but it is influenced obviously by Mercury in Gemini, who's speeding along and with his craftiness, his trickiness, being ingenious, right? Multiple messages, putting them together, taking them apart. But you have to remember with Mercury in general, it is the planet that can go from the underworld to the outer world and back, transverse multiple planes, multiple worlds. That's what it does, carrying messages. It also rules thievery and trickery. Most importantly, it rules concoction making and magic itself. And so there's so much packed here with Mercury, as always, with the messages coming through. And it being in Gemini, it has something to say here. And if you want to have fun with this in the Gemini part of your chart, you can either create the message yourself, channel the message through, accept the messages that come through the metaphorical wind that give you a hint of what's coming here in the Gemini part of your chart. Now, Saturn, the constructor, the disciplinarian, the rule maker, right? The authority figure, structure, regiment, okay? It just entered Aries, right? So I'm making this video a couple hours after Aries, and so when we get there, Saturn in the sky is automatically with Mercury connecting on what they call a sextile aspect, and that is when they're 60 degrees away from each other. And when air and fire connect, it's a sextile. Mercury and Gemini at 2 degrees connecting with the 0 degrees of Saturn and Aries. But and next to Saturn and Aries is Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. It's been there for a little bit now. So we have Saturn and Neptune connecting in an opportunistic way with the message, with the messenger, and giving it some sort of like the will to see the future for one's own self and to put oneself as the priority first. And it's also, remember with Aries, the need to test one's mettle in the world, what one is called to and what one must do to attack that story or to fulfill that story. And we take our tools and our weapons and we must put ourselves first. And that Saturnian structure there will be rebuilding for all the Aries people. But I think in this particular case, provides structure to Gemini, to Mercury and Gemini, and to the message. And the message is clear and directive. And that's the great thing. Now, Neptune being there, you might not think this would be clear and directive, but I think Neptune gives the underlying intuitive aspect to all this in Aries. And so both planets creating that opportunistic sextile with Mercury and Gemini is a seed moment for the new moon. And since we know for the years to come that it'll be Aries, air and fire getting together, you could see the seed moment, the hint of something. But there's something else here in all of this, and it's the planet Pluto. And Pluto's in Aquarius going backwards right now, but it's pretty much at the early degrees of 3 degrees in air, so it is making our harmonious trine relationship with Mercury, the fellow air signs, and the message is deep from the underworld, profound and powerful, right? So Mercury's basically carrying messages with and from Pluto and with and from Saturn and Neptune all at the same time. So this is an underlying message too. It's what we see and what we can pull in from the wind, like I mentioned, but I think it goes deeper into the subconscious. And I think it's in a way of like a premonition of what is to come. Now, if you want more details in something like this, you could look to the Aries part of the chart, of your chart, and how it connects to the Gemini part of your chart. You can go to the Aquarius part of your chart and see how it connects to the Gemini and Aries parts of the chart. There's a certain kind of flow going on here. And since when we're dealing with Pluto and Neptune, which are outer body planets, a lot of times certain storylines with that are more on the deeper subconscious level. They aren't fully arrived out in the open yet. But I think the Saturnian connection with this gives it form, right? Structure. That's what Saturn does. So there's form and structure with Mercury delivering the message, but there's a deeper code involved, and that code is the future. Down the line, we're going to be doing these amazing connections between fire and air, and they will push technology, they will push our culture, and they will bring in new things. Aries is the frontier maker, right? Always setting off for a new land, right? And with air signs, they bring the thought in that setting off of the story and the calculation, the synthesis that happens, and what we do with that, and then the messages that pour out from us. And those messages are all future oriented. Mercury and Gemini with Pluto, and Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So there's a forward feeling thinking here and feeling coming from an intuitive internal place, also from an external place where we transmit that message outwardly. Now, to keep it real simple for you, if you're the type of person that's not used to fire and air in your world, I like it. A good exercise for this on the new moon is to actually go for a walk and what happens there in walk when we're moving the blood through our body and the air is coming into our lungs. And, think about what happens, or what you don't think about when you go for a walk or you have a dog or something like that. You kind of trail off with the, sometimes you have the unnecessary thoughts, the to-do list, the worries and whatever. And after a certain amount of time, when your mind and your body are connecting through air coming through and the blood moving through your body, those other thoughts that might be weighted or give you stress, or the questions that you might have, they do dissipate, and you kind of get into other places, other types of contemplative places, but really you open up and leave yourself open for other thoughts or feelings or something to come through. And I think this is pretty much the core of the new moon itself. Something is coming in. Something is coming in, and it's about the future going forward. All right. So those are some of my quick thoughts. I'm saying this to you as somebody who's a Mercury and Gemini myself. This particular new moon is right on my Mercury. I wrote a little plan out, but as you know, on this channel, I'm always I don't know what the words are. Some people say channeling, some people say all types of things, but I think it's a thing of if a Gemini trick, or if somebody doesn't understand Gemini energy, is sometimes it feels like, oh, you're doing this and you're manipulating that and going from here to there. But there is an art to all this, and the art is being aware and present with your body and your mind. You want to keep them together, and a lot of times in Gemini's off balance, it's only up here and completely scattered in many different directions. But when you have mind, body, and heart together with air going through the lungs, you can do some multiple things at once, or one thing, but you could stay focused and clear. And so you always picture the movement of Gemini from here to there, right? Like a butterfly. Try not to sneeze right now. But the secret that I'm revealing through a sneeze, maybe that's a message coming through, is actually standing still. And it's in that place when Mercury or Gemini is standing still that things, information comes to them and moves through them. And when you're standing still, but focused and aware of where you are and present, not manipulating a situation, but aware of what comes to you, when the winds blow, you just go with it, right? Now, Gemini has a talent for calculating when the winds blow or when to do this, and they could do it ultra light, ultra fast speed in their minds and calculate, and that's how they can juggle things. But I'll tell you, after over the years of being a Gemini, some of the best messages, some of the things I've done on this channel, the live streams, all the crazy stuff I've done the last 3 years on this channel, have been in situations before I've done the tapes where I'm standing still. And what I tell myself is like, breathe. Breathe. It's there. My mind went blank when I was breathing and I saw white light. And I saw something collective. I saw something new that's coming. Maybe it's the new way I'll do videos in the future. Maybe it's an idea that's actually been in my world, in my core, that's just coming through and coming up. Maybe I want something better for myself in the world. Let's say the restructuring the Aries part of my chart, and how the Gemini and Aquarius parts of my chart will then take that core intuition will of moving forward, the instinct and impulse of Aries, and then transmute that into the word or the message or the premonition or the download or the channel. That's how it works a lot of time with me. So I just thought I'd say that. I hope you can maybe take something from that or incorporate that in your world. It might seem like when you look on paper with something with a chart like this, there's not any squares. I mean, Jupiter's squaring the nose, but it's moving away from there. But everything else is pretty good, you know, on paper when we're looking at astrology. Then we don't look at it. What messages come through in that silence and breath, you know? So that's the way I'm looking at this new moon. You know, on this channel, I just speak from my heart and my mind to end things. It's wild out there, and it's gonna get crazier out there in the world politically and stuff. I've talked about this on this channel. But being able to move and know when you're standing still the messages you're getting, but knowing when to mutate and change, knowing when it is the decisive moment. Actually, you can look up a major influence on my life. He was a photographer, a French photographer. His name is Henri Cartier-Bresson, and he was a very famous street photographer. And he wrote a beginning intro to his first photography book, and it's called The Decisive Moment. And he was talking about how when your heart and mind and body are on the same axis, and it's in that place when he was holding his camera as a street photographer, searching for that one sweet spot to capture the moment. And it happens to Geminis all the time, and it happens rapidly. I think it happens to other people, but in different pacing. Can you imagine if you were catching decisive moments in certain days, like constantly every hour or within 5 minutes? You know, that's my life. And then sometimes there's nothing for a while. But it's allowing that to happen and knowing the spot, bringing yourself there, and for that one moment, standstill place, zoom, the download happens. Nicholas, how did you know this? How did you do that? You know, you did this and this at the same time. Blah, blah, blah. Gemini this, Gemini that. When a Gemini is focused and when I'm dialed in, it's you're living that life constantly. And it is an utter joy to realize that you have wings on your feet and on your back and you can do anything. And when you take the long game, the truer approach, and I understand my role, anything that I do, I'm following my code to fulfill what I need to do to love myself. But the other part of the duality is, the bring in the Aquarius part is the collective. The messages that are downloading through, the new moon intentions that are happening, all this stuff, I'm not just thinking of myself. I'm thinking of the ingenuity and the messages passed to others. It's about building something new, the forward thinking part, the will of Aries. That's the way I'm doing it, right? And there's so many messages coming through. You deliver them, some you hold, hovering with your wings, and you know the moment's coming. A person walks around the corner and they say to you, like to me at this conference, I was just thinking about you, Nicholas. I was just blah, blah, blah. And then I say something to them and they're like, actually, it's something they needed to hear. I was just there in the moment, the decisive moment. Work this Gemini new moon. Think about the moment, right? Dial in. And fly. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. I'm doing some video recording. I'm here at NORWAC, the Northwest Astrological Conference. It's a beautiful day. There's 400 astrologers in there. But you know what? I told myself, I gotta go make a new moon video. And I see some of my other colleagues, they're writing their posts for Substack, whatever. We're delivering the messages, you know what I'm saying? And this is the way how I do, all right? Soon, I'm gonna put a discount code for my non-members for June. It's gonna be my birthday month. I think I'm gonna do some discounted readings. I'm feeling it. In the meantime, I gotta go back to this conference and do what I do. And those people who know me or just meeting me here, you see what I'm talking about, the glimpse. I am the living embodiment of this. I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging about being Gemini, but I know my place. I revel it. I know my role. All right? So until next time, and I'll see you on the next video.